Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Institute of Global Professionals Free International Webinar. Thank you for joining, and I hope that you stay with us until the end. My lovely audience, I am your host for tonight. My name is Mikey D. Leonardo from Naira University Main Campus, Quezon City, Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be associated with the Institute of Global Professionals as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to be the host tonight. Once again, it is my delight to welcome you all to our free international webinar. Thank you for joining and stay with us until the end. I am sure that you will have many takeaways and payoffs after this. Each time you can like and comment to interact with our webinar. Also, don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in the comment box. Let's watch together and learn together. Here in IGP, we believe that power is gained by sharing knowledge, not by hoarding it. Once again, I am Mikey D. Leonardo from Naira University Main Campus, Quezon City, a practice teacher taking Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English. Before I proceed, I would like to say thank you to my supervisor, coordinating teacher, and friends who are always there to support me and my endeavors. Now, I am happy to inform you that every day we have new participants joining. So let me give you a little concept about IGP. The Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institution that provides globally recognized social work. We organize our trainings, webinars, offline courses, and many others with the best and trained speakers and coaches from all over the world to create the best learning platform just for you. Our mission is to enhance and empower people. As of today, we have already completed 393 webinars successfully. Wow, that's a lot. I hope that all of you got a lot of benefits both for your personal and professional lives. I also hope that you remain with us in this long journey. Let me remind you again, don't forget to share, tag, comment, and mention your friends in the comment box because your attachment encourages us to do better and give you the best service that you deserve. Everyone, today we are presenting our webinar number 394, Teaching Life Skills Through Literature. Let's start our program with IGP's mantra, Feed Your Skills. Please welcome our speaker for tonight, Dr. Kiran Kalra. Good evening, Dr. Kiran.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Team IGP, for inviting me once again for this wonderful session. It's really an honor and pleasure to be with all of you once again. I would just briefly introduce myself to you. I work as an assistant professor in the Department of English in Government PG College for Women, Jammu, which is Jammu and Kashmir, India. I have also taught in the Central University of Jammu. I have been teaching since past 8 years to undergraduate and postgraduate students. I'm also supervising many MPhil and PhD scholars who are pursuing their PhD in English literature. So, once again, thank you for inviting me. Today, I will be giving my presentation on the topic teaching life skills through literature. These are the topics covered: introduction to literature, what literature can teach us, what are life skills, importance of life skills, how can we learn life skills through literature, and finally, conclusion. So basically, my presentation is structured in three parts. In the first part, an attempt will be made to briefly introduce you all to the world of literature. The second part will deal with life skills, which form a very important aspect of our lives. And finally, in the third part, I will try to bring the two together to show how we can use literature to learn as well as to teach life skills. So, first of all, I would like to discuss with you what is literature. Here, I would like to, specify that when I speak about literature, my focus will be on English literature per se. English literature or literature broadly is a collection of written work, but it is also used more narrowly for writings specifically considered to be an art form, especially prose, fiction, drama, poetry, etc. Literature as an art form can also include works in various non-fiction genres such as biographies, diaries, memoirs, letters, essays. Within its broad definition, literature includes non-fictional books also, articles, other printed information on a particular subject. Uh, this is a quotation by a Russian poet and novelist Boris Pasternak, which I found, to be very aptly describing what is literature. So, literature is the art of discovering something extraordinary about ordinary people and saying with ordinary words something extraordinary. So, this I think very aptly defines literature. So I will just go on to introduce and elaborate more on literature. Literature is a term used to describe written and sometimes spoken material as well. It is derived from the Latin word literatura, which means writing with letters. So, literature most commonly refers to works of the creative imagination, including poetry, drama, fiction, non fiction, and in some instances, it also goes on to include journalism and songs. In recent centuries, the definition of literature has expanded to include oral literature, much of which has been transcribed. Literature is a method of recording, preserving, and transmitting knowledge. So, whatever knowledge we have today, it has been passed on with the help of literature. Literature can also help us to entertain, and it can also have social, psychological, spiritual, and political role to play in our lives. Uh, these are some of the oldest examples of literature. One of the earliest known literary works is the Sumerian or Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh from 2150 BCE. You wouldn't believe, but it's true that the pyramid texts of Egypt are also considered as literature. They tell of the journey of the soul to the afterlife in the field of reeds. In ancient India, literature originated from stories that were orally transmitted. Early genres included drama, fables, sutras, and epic poetry. Now, moving on, I would like to give you an overview of different types of literature. Now, going into details will not be possible in this limited time, so I will be just try to give you an overview of literature. Poetry uses aesthetic and rhythmic qualities of language. Fiction is written in narrative form, where imaginary people, events, and places are described. Then we have another category of literature, which is non-fiction. This type of writing presents true and accurate information regarding people, places, and events. Then we have drama, which is another category, another type of literature where a story is told which is intended to be performed. So first of all, I would like to come to poetry. Johnson defines poetry as a metrical composition. Wordsworth, a very famous poet of English language, defines it as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. Matthew Arnold, another famous poet and critic of English language, he says poetry is simply the most delightful and perfect form of utterance that human words can reach. So we have different types of poetry, which I would like to introduce to you. The first is haiku. The haiku or hoku is an ancient form of Japanese poetry that has become very popular all over the world. It is renowned for its small size and consists of just 3 lines. Then we have free verse, which is again a very popular style of modern poetry. And as its name suggests, there is a fair amount of freedom when it comes to writing a poem like this. So a free verse can rhyme or not. It can have as many lines or stanzas as the poet wants, and it can be about anything you like. So it is a very preferred form of modern poetry. Then we have sonnets. This is a very old form of poetry which was made famous by none other than William Shakespeare. But the sonnet actually originated in the 13th century Italy, where it was perfected by the poet Petrarch. The word sonnet is derived from the Italian word sonetto, which means little song. So traditionally, sonnets were made up of 14 lines and they usually dealt with the theme of love. Then we have another type of poetry called acrostic. A very interesting type of poetry. Trust me, I will be sharing an example with you in the next slide. This type of poetry spells out a name, word, phrase, or message with the first letter of each line of the poem. It can rhyme or not, and typically the word spelled out lays down the theme of the poem. Then villanelle is another very old form of poetry that came from France and has lots of rules. Then we have limericks, which are very funny and sometimes rude also. Then ode is it's again one of the oldest forms of poetry and is believed to have come from ancient Greece. An ode is typically written to praise a person, event, or thing. They are usually written in quite short length. Then we have elegies, which are written about loved ones who have passed away. Although they can sound sad, but they often end on a hopeful note. Then we have ballads, which is another old and traditional form of poetry that typically tells a dramatic or emotional story. So these are different types of poetry, and now I would like to share some examples with you. So as you can see on your screen, there is there are some examples of poetry. First is the old pond. If I may recite it for you. Old pond, a frog jumps in, water sound. Now the poem is over. This is the poem. Old pond, a frog jumps in, water sounds. It is one of the best known Japanese haiku of all time. It consists of 3 phrases. In this haiku poem, there are only 3 images. One is a static image of an old pond. The second one is a dynamic image of a frog jumping into the pond. And lastly, there is an auditory image that presents the sound that is generated from a frog jumping into the pond water. So while reading a haiku, one has to be imaginative to get to the core of the poem. Then we have a limerick, which you can see here. The title is "There Was an Old Man with a Beard," and it is written by Edward Lear. Edward Lear has written many iconic limericks, and this is one of the famous limerick from the opening poem of a book of nonsense by him. The poem goes like this: There was an old man with a beard who said, "It is just as I feared. 2 owls and a hen, 4 larks and a wren have all built their nests in my beard." So you can say that it does not make any sense. It is actually funny, but this is a limerick. Then we have another poem called Fog by Carl Sandburg. The poem goes like this: The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches and then moves on. So it is an example of free verse where the poet compares the fog with a cat and there is no rhyme scheme. You see, you will not find any rhyme scheme in this poem. Then we have another example of acrostic, and the poem is also titled an acrostic. This is a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. The poem goes like this: Elizabeth, it is in vain you say, laugh not, thou sayest in so sweet a way. In vain those words from thee, or Lel, Xantipp's talents had enforced so well. Ah, if that language from thy heart arise, breathe it less gently forth, and veil thine eyes. Endymion recollect when Luna tried to cure his love, was cured of all beside. His folly, pride, and passion, for he died. So here you can see that I have uh, put some letters in bold and in red color. So if you arrange these alphabets, you will find that this is like a puzzle which comes out to be Elizabeth. So this is the quality of an acrostic poem. Now moving on, after poem we have fiction. Fiction writing again is a very important type of literature. Fiction writing is a composition of non-factual prose texts. Fiction writing often is produced as a story meant to entertain or convey an author's point of view. So basically, they are imaginary writing, which a writer writes with his own imagination. There are different types of fiction. We have romance, mystery, action, adventure, science fiction, fantasy, suspense, thriller, young adult. In romance novels, we have the elements of fantasy, love, extravagance, adventure, and always the heroic lover overcoming impossible odds to be with his true love. Then we have mystery, which is again a very popular genre. All mysteries focus on a crime, usually murder. Then we have science fiction. Fantasy novels depict distant worlds and futuristic technologies. They are imaginative, thoughtful, and otherworldly. This robust category is made even more popular by the Star Wars and Star Trek series, which many people have enjoyed watching. Then we have suspense novels and thrillers. They are tense, exciting, and often sensational. They work with ingenious plotting and swift action and continuous suspense. Then we have young adult novels. Uh, this genre includes any type of novel with a protagonist in the 12 to 16 age rank that speaks to the concerns of teenagers. So we have J.K. Rowling and her Harry Potter series, which is dominating the field of young adult as well as fantasy and science fiction. And I think most of you must have uh, watched Harry Potter series. Then another category of literature is nonfiction. Here we have history, religion, spirituality, philosophy, political science, sociology, science and mathematics, business, economics, accounts. It includes your essays, your language books, your textbooks. It also includes travel guides and literature, cookbooks. Yes, cookbooks are also included in literature. Then books related to health and wellness. Then we have memoirs, biographies, autobiographies, and journals, which all are part of nonfiction. Non-fiction, so we can make out, is any document or media content that intends in good faith to present only truth and accuracy regarding information, events, or people. So the difference between fiction and non-fiction is that fiction is imaginative and non-fiction, on the other hand, portrays real people, real incidents, real events. The information presented is factual. It is real in case of non-fiction text. Then moving on, another important category of English literature is drama. Drama is a type of literature which tells a story which is intended to be performed for an audience on stage. So whenever a playwright writes a drama, he keeps in mind that it has to be enacted, it has to be performed on the stage. So therefore, we have these elements of drama, like we have characters, we have plots, we have settings, and there are dialogues which form important component of a drama. So basically, drama is a performing art. There are different types of drama. We have comedies, tragedies, and tragicomedy, which are the three main types of drama. First, coming to comedies, it is primarily a type of drama that aims to make the audience laugh. The purpose of comedies is to make the audience laugh. So that is why its tone is light. It has mostly happy ending. Such a tradition of writing came from ancient Greek theatre, where comedy first emerged as a form of drama. Comedies can be further divided into various subcategories like comedy of humor, comedy of manners, farce, mask, sarcasm, black comedy, etc. Then we have another category which is tragedies. Murders, death, insanity, and pain are among the most common ideas in tragedy. The protagonist or the main characters of tragedies usually have some kind of weakness or defect in their character, which leads to their downfall. So we have different types of tragedies like heroic tragedies, revenge tragedies. Shakespeare, was considered as a master of tragedies. Then we have melodramas, and there is another type of drama which combines both comedy and tragedy, and Shakespeare again is credited with introducing this form of drama, which is called tragicomedy, which is, as the name suggests, a combination of tragedy and comedy. It means that such a play may be sad but will have a happy ending, or it may be serious with some elements of humor emerging throughout the whole play. Then there are so many other different types of plays like medieval plays, miracle and morality plays, epic plays, theatre of absurd, and so on and so forth. Then, now moving on to the second part of my presentation, it takes me to life skills. Now, first of all, what is life skill? So, life skill basically is a balance of three areas, that is knowledge, attitude, and skills. Life skill education is considered very important. UNICEF, WHO, they all have emphasized introducing life skill education at school level for students. So, life skill education, as defined by UNICEF, is a behavior change or behavior development approach to address a balance of three areas of knowledge, attitude, and skills. So basically, life skills enable individuals to translate their knowledge, attitude, and values into actual abilities. That is, what to do, how to do, given the scope and opportunity to do. WHO, that's World Health Organization, has also defined life skills as the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enable individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. So here, when they use the term adaptive, they mean that a person is flexible in approach and is able to adjust in different circumstances. Positive behavior implies that a person is forward looking and even in difficult situations, he can identify a ray of hope and opportunities to find solutions for that problem. So basically, life skills are the abilities that help in the promotion of mental and social well being and competence to face the realities of life. Now, the question, which comes into everyone's mind is who needs life skills? So the answer to this will be everyone. Everyone and anyone who wants to lead a meaningful life needs life skills. They are applicable to all ages of children and adolescents in school, specifically, since young people in this age group seem to be most vulnerable to behavior related health problems. Life skills are thus needed for the promotion of, you can say, good health and well-being rather than taking it as an intervention aimed only at those who are at risk or who are already uh, facing problems related to life skills. So I think life skills form very important component of human life. Yes. So the term life skills refers to the skills you need to make the most out of life. We all are human beings and we need life skills. And any skill that is useful in our life can be considered as a life skill. You won't believe that, but small little things that we do in our life, like tying your shoelaces, swimming, driving a car, using a computer. These also are for most of the people useful life skills. So broadly speaking, the term life skills is usually used for any of the skills needed to deal well and effectively with the challenges of life. Certain skills, may be more or less relevant to you depending on your life circumstances, your culture, your age, your beliefs, your geographic locations. For example, swimming as a life skill is more relevant for someone living in the coastal area as compared to one living in the mountains, because a person living in the a coastal area has to, make his living out of the sea. So for him, swimming is an important life skill as compared to a person living in the mountains, who hardly come across a sea or a river in his or her life. Then, moving ahead, yes, it is also true that different life skills will be more or less relevant at different times of your life. For example, when you are at school or university, You need study skills. These may include understanding how to organize yourself for studies, how to do research, even write up a dissertation or thesis. So these are not skills that everyone will need, but writing skills are likely to be useful in a variety of careers and jobs. The next is negotiation skills. So when you are buying a house, you may need to employ your negotiation skills, and you will certainly need plenty of patience and good temper along with it. Then you need to negotiate with your employer. You have to negotiate your salary with your employer. You need these skills even in your day-to-day grocery shopping. Trust me, here in India, the housewives have mastered this skill. They know very well how to negotiate with the local vegetable vendors and how to get free fresh coriander leaves with vegetables. And in absence of negotiation skills, you may end up paying more money to the auto guy or to the vegetable vendor, especially if you are in India. So you need to work on your study skills, on your negotiation skills. Then you need to work on your employability skills if you want to get a job. And when you have a job, you may need to develop your leadership skills especially if you need to lead teams or groups. Then, when you start a family, you will need parenting skills. You may also find that time management and organizing skills become much more important. So we need different skills at different stages of our life. But perhaps the most important life skill, according to me and according to many scholars, is the ability and willingness to learn. Because life is a continuous process of learning and unlearning because we keep on learning new things and we keep on unlearning the older ones. Some we retain, some we forget. Yes. Moving on. Yes, I think now my slide is visible. Yes, moving on. Uh, Personal skills are the essential life skills. So these are different types of life skills. We have personal skills, we have interpersonal skills, then we have reading, writing, and numeracy skills, and lifelong learning and personal development. So, first, coming to personal skills, they are essential life skills which we need to help maintain a healthy body and mind. Uh, these skills actually include many of those that WHO has listed, such as resilience, self control, self awareness. They also include skills such as how we recognize, manage, and cope with emotions. Being able to manage anger and stress can also be an important, essential life skill. Learning about anger and stress, recognizing what may trigger them in ourselves as well as in others, what the symptoms are, and how to control or manage such emotions can greatly enhance the quality of our lives. You may have seen many people around you who battle with low self esteem and self confidence, which can cause stress and can also prevent them from attaining their full potential. Then we have interpersonal skills. They are very important skills for our social life because they help us to connect with people. They are the skills which make us human. And communication skill is a very important interpersonal skill. It covers a huge range of skills, including effective listening, together with techniques such as clarification and reflection that can help prevent misunderstandings. Then in communication skills, we have verbal and non-verbal communication skills, which include how to use your voice and choose the right words. It also includes use of tone of voice, body language, and even how you dress. Then, being able to write clearly and concisely is also a very powerful way to communicate, either one to one or to a much larger audience. Decision making and problem solving are also important personal as well as interpersonal skills. Then, an understanding of the basic principles of day to day numeracy. Arithmetic and maths also help to open many doors. They make you more employable, apart from helping you save time and money. Then continuing to learn and grow is an ongoing process which continues throughout the life. So, life skills are very important for us, and these are some of the quotations which tell us about the importance of life skills. Life skills develop right attitudes to think smartly, act smartly, and to live consciously. Life skills are skills we can take wherever we go in life, no matter what we do. So this is a list of life skills which includes grocery shopping, home safety, laundry care, restaurant etiquette. Yes, even that is a very important life skill. Dining etiquette, seatbelt safety, pet care, restroom etiquette. Yes, again a very important life skill which many people lack. Then cleaning house, doing chores, calling 911. Hmm. All these are important life skills and they make our life good. So, yes, life is good with all these life skills. Now, you may be wondering, why we are focusing so much on life skills. The answer to that is, technological advancement, cutthroat competition, fast changing industry demands, they all have made the competition very tough. And in order to survive in this world of competition, humans are working like machines. The hard hitting impact of this pandemic, COVID 19, is not only on our business and economy, but also on our mental health. Then adding to that is the recent, Russia and Ukraine war and the threat of impending third world war, which has taken a toll on all of us, irrespective of our nationalities. Then, in addition to that, we have declining family and social values. Obviously, professional values are lacking. So these are some of the major reasons behind increasing problems of mental health cases in the society. And to deal with mental health issues, life skills can play a vital role. As life skill education bridges the gap, it strengthens the mental ability of an individual. It helps in analyzing the situation and then taking a decision. So, life skills have the power to improve our personal and professional relationships. So, when it comes to mental health, life skill education can be a game changer. And if life skill education is blended with our culture and literature, it can serve the dual purpose of teaching life skills with value based education. So herein comes the role of literature, and that takes me to the third part of my presentation, where I will try to form some kind of a connection between literature and life skills for you. Yes. So the question is, why Literature. Most people don't take literature seriously. And trust me, I'm teaching literature from past 8 years, and still, many times, people don't take me seriously. They feel that other subjects are probably more relevant for our lives. They believe, math teaches us how to cipher. History tells us about our past. Science helps us to make progress and develop. But, they question, how does literature help us? So, I would like to put it in this way that literature helps us to understand the world we live in. It helps us to understand ourselves. It helps us to make connections, to find the meaning of life, and to become a better human being. And that too in such a pleasant way that we learn so many things without making much effort. For example, I will just share a small story with you, which I hope you will enjoy listening to. So, here goes the story. I love telling stories because I believe that stories are the most powerful medium to teach. So the story goes like this: that there was a man who had four sons, and one day he sent them in turn to go and look at a pear tree that was at a great distance away. So the first son, he went in the winter, the second son went in the spring, the third in the summer, and the youngest son in the fall. When they had all gone and come back, he called them together to describe what they had seen. The first son, who had gone in the winter, said the tree was ugly, bent, and twisted. The second son, who went in the spring, said, no, it was covered with green buds and full of promise. The third son, who went in summers, disagreed. He said it was laden with blossoms that smelled so sweet and looked so beautiful. It was the most graceful thing he had ever seen. The last son, who had gone in fall, disagreed with all of them. He said it was ripe and drooping with fruit, full of life and fulfillment. The man then explained to his sons that they were all right because they had each seen but only one season in the tree's life. He told them that you cannot judge a tree or a person by only one season, and that the essence of who they are can only be measured at the end when all the seasons are up. So if you give up when it's winter, you will miss the promise of your spring, the beauty of your summer, and fulfillments of your fall. So just by telling the story, one can teach so many important lessons of life. We can learn that we should not let the pain of one season destroy the joys of all the rest. We should not judge life by one difficult season. Persevere through the difficult patches, and better times are sure to come sooner or later. So this is the power of storytelling. Now, that takes us to the next part, that what literature can teach us. Works of literature, at their best, provide a kind of blueprint of human society. So from the writings of ancient civilizations such as Egypt and China to Greek philosophy and poetry, from the epics of Homer to the plays of William Shakespeare, from the novels of Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte to the poetry of Maya Angelou, works of literature give insight and context to all the world's societies. So, in this way, literature is more than just a historical or cultural artifact. It can serve as an introduction to a new world of experience. So, when a student analyzes literature, He learns to identify cause and effect, and he is applying his critical thinking skills. Without realizing it, a student examines the character psychologically or sociologically. Uh, when a teacher assigns a student the task of writing an essay, students use problem solving skills to come up with a thesis. Some studies also say that people who read literature have more empathy for others, as literature puts the reader into another person's shoes. So, having empathy for others leads people to socialize more effectively, solve conflicts more peacefully, collaborate better in the workplace, behave morally, and possibly even become involved in making their community a better place. Readers can feel a greater connection to humanity and less isolated. Students who read literature can find solace as they realize that they have gone through the same things that they are experiencing or have experienced. And this can be a catharsis or relief to them if they feel burdened or alone in their travels. Uh, in this next slide, I would like to elaborate more on the term catharsis, which I used in my previous slide, because catharsis, I believe, is a very important outcome of reading literature. Catharsis, meaning purification or cleansing or clarification, is the purification and purgation of emotion through dramatic art. This term was originally used by Aristotle in his book called Poetics, where he compares the effect of tragedy on the mind of a spectator to the effect of catharsis on the body. He says it is the human soul that is purged of its excessive passions. The purification or purgation of emotions of fear and pity is a valuable part of our response to a tragedy. Therefore, that is the reason that when we watch a tragedy or read a tragedy, we feel pity for the protagonist, and we also feel a sense of fear that, we may also have to come across such a tragic situation in our life. But after watching a tragedy, we are purged of those emotions of pity and fear. Probably this is the reason that, when we are in a sad mood, we love to watch tragic movies or we love to listen to, tragic songs. After which, we feel much relieved because the emotions of pity and fear are purified, they are purged, we are cleansed of the emotions of pity and fear after watching or after reading a tragedy. Now, the next question, that comes into many minds is that how can we use literature for learning life skills? So I would suggest that we can tell stories to teach life skills. As I've already said, storytelling is a very powerful medium. Stories inspire, influence, engage, and teach. They help to shape thoughts and help develop self confidence and empathy. They also help in developing problem solving skills. Stories stimulate the imagination. Hearing stories instills love of language in children and motivates them to read. Stories improve listening skills. Stories improve many language skills also, such as vocabulary, comprehension, sequencing, and story record. And stories also encourage creative writing. So we all, have grown up listening to stories because stories are everywhere. Uh, so I will like to share another story with you now. An eagle story. and here it goes. An eagle knows when a storm is approaching long before it breaks. So it will fly to some high spot and wait for the winds. When the storm hits, it sets its wings so that the wind will pick it up and lift it above the storm. So while the storm rages below, the eagle is already soaring above it. The eagle does not escape the storm. It simply uses the storm to lift it higher. It rises on the winds that bring the storm. So, all of us in our lives, experience storms. And when they come upon us, we can also rise above them by our determination and faith, just like an eagle. The eagle story that we have just listened to provides us with a powerful lesson not to hide our heads in the sand like an ostrich when we see problems approaching us. We must like we must act like eagles. We must be realistic. Since life is not a bed of roses, storm will enter our lives and we must find ways to use them to rise higher in our life. So storytelling prepares a child for facing the challenges of life just like an eagle. We can tell them different stories to face different situations of life. The next is poetry. You know, we learn life skills by listening to stories, but another powerful medium is poetry. Learning life skill lessons could be wonderful experience by reading novels, plays, and poetry. And poetry can prove very useful as most of us enjoy reading or listening poetry and it serves many purposes at one time. It gives reader pleasure, it teaches valuable lessons, it encourages high order critical and creative thinking, and above all, poetry is one of the most graceful and traditional art forms ever created to share emotions and awake the emotions of people. The best thing about poetry is the artistic quality. Poets can artistically say a lot with very few words or just in a couple of lines. It is also very suggestive. It appeals to our emotions and forces us to think the way the poet wants rather than using our own intellect. Poetry has the potential to communicate and demonstrate our understanding of a concept. It is a technique for deepening comprehension and developing empathy and knowledge that can be applied to real life situations. So I will be just sharing a poem with you. It is a poem called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And the lines which you can see on your screen are from this poem. And these lines were very close to the heart of the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So the poem goes like this. Whose woods these are? I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The poem presents a picture of snow covered woods and tells the tale of a man who wanted to enjoy the beauty of the woods but could not do so for long. He had to go to keep his promises. The poem inspires us to keep on moving ahead in our lives. It inspires us to stay focused and strive to achieve our goals despite all the distractions this world offers. Drama, another beautiful form of literature, watching a play being performed on the stage or acting in a play can also prepare us for so many difficult situations in our life. We can learn how to react in case of any such situation. Drama teaches us to, stay focused, to have self control. It also, helps in perspective taking. It improves our communication skills. It helps to make connections with the world and the people around. It arouses critical thinking. It teaches us to take on challenges. And above all, drama is a self directed and engaged learning. And these are some of the lines from a play, a very famous play of William Shakespeare called As You Like It. And this is a monologue given by a character of the play called Jakes. And this is very famous as Seven Ages of Man. In this monologue, Shakespeare compares the world with a stage in a theater. Men and women are the actors and players on the stage. So, just like actors playing roles have their entrances and exits during a performance, life also has its entrances and exits. People born and they die. So, just as an actor, plays a variety of roles in his life, so too do men, and women play different roles or pass through different stages of, as Shakespeare says, seven ages of their lives. So Shakespeare very beautifully, defines these seven ages of human life. He says the first role or the stage is that of an infant baby. The baby cries and whines in nurse's hands. In the second stage of life, man plays the role of a small boy or child. He holds a school bag and walks slowly because he does not like to go to school. Then the role of the lover is the third stage of life. He is young and foolish and falls passionately in love, sings a sad song about love in which he describes the beauty of a girl's eyebrow. In the fourth stage of life, man plays role of a soldier. He has a beard, he swears oath, and is ambitious to seek out honor. Then, in the fifth stage of life, man plays the role of a justice or a judge. He has grown fat. He uses his experience and knowledge he has gained to offer his advice. In the sixth stage of life, the man becomes a pantaloon or a weak old man. He is thin, his stockings become loose. The speech compares this stage of life to return to be like a baby or a child. Old men and small children, they both have high voices and are dependent on adults. Then the seventh and the final stage is extreme old age, or you can also say second childhood. Like babies, very old men are dependent on others and they have no teeth. The old man loses his memory and hearing, and he loses the control of his senses before dying. So, Shakespeare, one of the greatest playwrights of English literature, has so beautifully and in so few words described the seven stages of human life. So, this is the power of a dramatist. They can show the entire life of human beings in so few words. Then, moving on to fiction, these are the five essential skills that one can gain from reading fiction: technical skills, survival skills, self awareness, relationship skills, wellness, and mental health skills. Uh, you will be surprised to know that studies have shown that fiction novels make people more compassionate and empathetic. However, it goes much further than this. Fiction not only allows us to relate to situations that are so far from our own and feel the feelings of those affected by them, but they also teach us skills that are essential in our daily lives. So we can learn technical skills, by reading fiction, which can be defined as a certain set of abilities relating to a particular craft or its techniques. So, reading fiction can teach us the craft of communication, public speaking, and even the art of research. And many survival skills also can be learned from fiction. For example, money management, many novels teach us how to live in the wilderness, then how to travel, how to cook. And yes, they all are important survival skills. Then many fictional novels say push the boundaries of our reality. They make us question little things and discern for ourselves what is right and what is wrong. Oftentimes, these questions lead us to better understanding of our true nature. Then relationship skills, most books involves relationships in one form or another and can teach us what to do and what not to do when working with others. Then wellness and mental health, and many psychologists, they believe that the reason reading is the most efficient way to relax is because our brain has to focus solely on the story at hand and nothing else. So by doing this, our body automatically relaxes because the brain is otherwise engaged. So that is why you find many people, reading novels while traveling. You will find them reading novels, when they are on airport, or when they are just relaxing, when they just want to doze off, they prefer to read novels. And these are some of the important quotes from the novels of Charles Dickens, a very important writer, novelist of English literature. And these quotes, they give us important lessons of life. I'll just read a few for you. There is nothing in the world so irresistibly contagious as laughter and good humor. Have a heart that never hardens, and a temper that never tires, and a touch that never hurts. So, these, and there are many more beautiful lines, which we read in literature and which remain engraved in our hearts forever, and they continue to inspire us in our lives. Then we have another category of literature, which is non-fiction. While novels and magazines are entertaining, non-fiction books can be just as satisfying and much more beneficial. Non-fiction is the gateway to knowledge, to a formal education, which formal education often lacks. This is something which we are not taught, in schools and colleges and universities. So, from history to business and religion to psychology, nonfiction illuminates number of areas, making us more intelligent and well-rounded. Non-fiction books, help children connect with the world around them. They foster critical thinking and information gathering skills. Young children are often full of questions, So, a powerful way to support children's critical thinking skill is to refer them to a non-fiction book and find the answers together. It teaches them valuable researching and investigating skills. Building vocabulary and language skills is another important characteristic feature of nonfiction books. So, when children are exposed to books of different genres, uh, they get the opportunity to explore books, they get understanding of a new language and practice sharing. They get new thoughts, ideas, and feelings. Non-fiction books are particularly useful for building their vocabulary and language skills because they often introduce new words to them. And since non-fiction books they share facts or real life events, they are a great tool for making real world connections to build on children's knowledge and personal experience. This also means that you can use non-fiction books to further enhance children's experiences and interests, and also it adds on to their knowledge. So we have, so many non-fiction books, and they have so much to teach. But since I come from the land of Gandhi, so these are some of the quotes by the father of the nation of India, Mahatma Gandhi, from his book Gandhi, an autobiography, which I would like to share with you. I'll just read a few quotes for your ready reference. Remember that all through history there have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they seem invincible, but in the end they always fall. Always. So we get so many important lessons of life by reading the autobiographies of great people like Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, and there are so many to quote. There is another quote, which I would like to read for you. The seeker after truth should be humbler than the dust. The world crushes the dust under its feet, but the seeker after truth should so humble himself that even the dust could crush him. Only then, and not till then, will he have a glimpse of truth. So, uh, I will just conclude. I think I'm running short of time also, and I've already surpassed the time allotted to me. So I will just quickly conclude by saying read more books, read literature, read for pleasure, and learn the lessons of life. Thank you, all of you, for such a patient hearing. Over to you, Mikey. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. Kilred, wow, your presentation is very knowledgeable. I was amazed by the number of informations that you have discussed tonight. And here are my key takeaways from your presentation. Actually, I never really got a hold of the time because I was enjoying your presentation. It was very fun to um, to attend this because of you. So first, you divided your presentation into three parts. The first one you discussed about the literature, wherein you gave a quote that says, "Literature is the art of discovering something extraordinary about ordinary people and saying with ordinary words something extraordinary." It was very shocking for me because yes, I am an English major, but I never really thought that the words that we are using can produce something extraordinary, which can touch the lives of the other individuals. And then you also mentioned that literature came from the Latin word literatura, that means writing formed with letters. And then we also have the oldest examples of literatures. And here's the fun part, you gave the types of literature. We have poetry, fiction, non-fiction, we also have drama, wherein in poetry we have the very interesting acrostic where we create poems using just the letters of a name. For example, the Elizabeth that you gave to us earlier, that was very interesting and it was very fun to listen. And then you now have your discussion with the life skills. Our life skills are being with life skills, we can have the balance of our knowledge, our attitude, and our skills. And then it is also the ability that helps us in the development of our mental and social well-being. And then we need it. Everybody needs it. And then it helps us to make the most out of our lives. And of course, this is the never-ending journey of learning. This is a lifelong process of learning. And then in your third part, I really like that you gave different examples and definitions on how each of the types of literature can teach us lifelong life skills. For example, we have the storytelling. It gives us inspiration. It influences us. It engages us, and it teaches us different life skills, like the eagle stories. These gives us the impression of not to hide when there are problems approaching us, and it also says, or it also means that we need to rise higher in our life regardless of the challenges that we are facing. And then we also have the poetry for developing life skills. You said that in poetry we can artistically describe or say something with just a few lines. And then the poetry that you've given to us gave us the message that we need to keep on moving ahead in our life. That was a very good poetry, ma'am. And then we have the drama. Here in the drama, it now focuses on our self-centered learnings. It helps us to take on challenges and make connections with others. Like, and then you have the seven ages of man, which tackles about the life stages from the newborn to the death of an individual. And then we also have the five essential life skills from fiction, and we also have the non-fiction, which helps us to connect with the world. Wow, ma'am, that was full of information. I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Just for a while, I'll just going to announce something to our audience. Dear audience, it's very unfortunate that we do not have our quiz competition for tonight. And before moving on, uh, we will just move on to the next part of our program, which is the question and answer portion. So you can comment your questions in the comment box, and we will return after the short video. So, dear audience, we are back and we are now in the question and answer portion. If you have questions for our guest, you can comment it. And don't forget to address our speaker as well. While waiting, I just want to say that our audience is composed of instructors, university instructors, and we also have students from different universities. So again, if you have questions, you can comment it and our speaker will answer it for you. Let us wait for a while, ma'am. Your audience, do you have any questions? We have from Ma'am Evelyn Waperi. Good evening, Ma'am Kiran Kalra. What life skills could be defined as a person's ability to keep going in this pandemic? Thank you.
Uh, I think, thank you for this question, first of all. I think this question is very pertinent because, we all are going through tough times. This is the time of pandemic. It has hit us, all of us, very hard economically, uh, socially, politically. We all have, during these 2 years, we all were under lockdown, confined to our houses. Even the children were not going to schools, especially, in this part of the continent, the schools were closed, they were shut down for the students. People were working from home. So yes, it has taken a toll on the mental health of everyone. And yes, to cope with this situation, there are multiple life skills, which can come to play. That how to deal with these situations, how to manage study, as I quoted in my presentation, even study is a skill. So now even now, because of the pandemic, the entire process of study has changed. The students are not going to school, they have to study on their own at home. The system has shifted from offline mode to online mode. So yes, you need study skills, you need organizational skills, you need, management skills to manage. And obviously, you have to keep your uh, spirit high. You have to, deal with, different situations of life, and all those, life skills, they come into play at the time of this pandemic. So I think this is how I can answer to this
Okay, thank
question.
you very Thank you very much, ma'am. So even this pandemic, we still have a lot of skills that are playing in order for us to get through this pandemic. And then we have another one from Katungal Patricia Yvonne. How does literature benefit language learners? Elaborate with the help of examples.
Okay, yes, literature, as I quoted in my presentation also, literature help language learners, when a child read a story, or, when a child read a novel, and, so to say, textbooks, history books, mathematic books, whatever, literature they read, they learn new vocabulary, they learn new words, they learn how to arrange words, in a sequence, in a logical order, in a way, which is socially acceptable, which makes you, appear wise and well read, so therein comes the role of literature, because it's a very pleasant way, children especially, they enjoy listening to stories. And when we are telling them stories, we can add new words, and that is how they can learn new vocabulary, they can learn the rules of grammar while enjoying reading different forms of literature.
Okay, that's thank you very much, ma'am. And then we have another one from Ma'am Maribeth de la Cruz. How to engage the learners while we are telling stories or reading poems for them.
I think, telling stories and reading poems is itself a very engaging activity because, children, they love listening to stories. And yes, apart from telling stories, we can also, engage them by, assigning them roles. So, role play plays a very important role. Uh, that also, make them learn additional life skills. They learn how to connect with other people. They develop leadership qualities. They learn how to engage with others. And poetry itself is so beautiful. They enjoy, if you can sing poetry for them, they will truly enjoy listening to poetry. It is so aesthetic. It has the musical quality. It has, all the aesthetic qualities. So poetry itself is self-engaging, I think, for kids.
All right, thank you. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Kyran. Ma'am, I'm sure that the audience have learned a lot from your presentation, and the knowledge that has gained today will be used for the professional and personal betterment of their lives. And it seems like there are no more questions from our audience. Once again, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, for our webinar number 394, Teaching Life Skills Through Literature, our code is IGP 2883. Once again, the code is IGP 2883. And if you encounter any problems, you may claim your e-certificates directly from our website. That is www.eduigp.com. Don't forget to create an account if you don't have one. Okay, without an account, you can only visit but you cannot do anything functional. Once again, our code for tonight, IGP2883, and the webinar number 394 entitled Teaching Life Skills Through Literature. My dear audience, I am also encouraging you to leave a review for tonight's session and recommend us if you learned something tonight. Don't forget to share the information to your friends and community. Again, don't forget to collect your e-certificate after the session is over. After collecting, don't forget to celebrate with IGP by checking in. We hope to see you all again in all of our upcoming webinars. Let's be brave during this pandemic and radiate warmness like a sunshine to everyone. Stay safe and stay happy. Once again, this is your host, Mikey D. Leonardo, a practice teacher from New Era University, Main Campus, Quezon City, signing off. Bye bye.